Hey y'all, it's Ann. Welcome back to my channel. As you could probably tell by my voice, I am not feeling my best, so I thought I would bring you some of my favorite chicken dishes that I've made on my channel. I have 16 of them for you, and these are our favorite meals that I've made on the channel. They're so easy to make, so delicious, but don't take a whole lot of time to make, so I know you're going to love them. So sit back and enjoy, and I hope you will like these recipes, and let me know down below if you've made any of them. So I am going to stop talking and I'm going to share the video with you. I hope you enjoy it. So I'm going to make some slow cooker sesame chicken, and I've got honey here. I've got some soy sauce. I'm using the less sodium, and I've also got some garlic powder in there. It calls for a tablespoon of tomato paste, but I'm just going to eyeball it. I'm going to add my honey. So I'm going to mix this together. I've got 1/4 of an onion cut up down there in the crock pot. I've got, these were boneless, skinless chicken thighs. I cut up into bite-sized pieces. And I am going to pour that sauce over the chicken. Okay, it says to sprinkle 4 tablespoons of cornstarch over the top. Stir that around. All right, I'm going to cover it and cook it on low for 3 to 4 hours. Okay, it's done. Oh, look at that. The house smells like a Chinese restaurant. This was so easy to put together. It took me about 5 minutes. The hardest thing was cutting up the chicken. Y'all, this was one of the best chicken dishes I've ever made in the crock pot. Definitely make this and definitely double the recipe. I am making something I found off TikTok. I have been obsessed with TikTok recipes lately. And this is like a deconstructed nacho fajita, I guess. Something like that. She called it nachos. I'm going to call it deconstructed fajitas. I've got a half a red pepper, half a yellow pepper, an onion over there. I've got some shredded cheese, some sour cream. I've got chicken here. I've got some cream cheese. I've got a pack of taco seasoning. I've already shredded up my chicken, so I'm going to pour half of it on the chicken, and I'm going to save the rest for the peppers. Alright guys, this thing is hot, so I'm going to turn it down. And I'm going to pour some avocado oil in here. Add the chicken. Alright, so chicken's nice and brown. I'm going to add in all the onions and peppers. I did put a lid on it and put a little bit of water in there and try to steam the vegetables a little bit. I should have just cooked the peppers separate. I'm going to go ahead and add half of a block, not quite a half a block of cream cheese. They did not specify how much. It just looked like a big spoonful of sour cream. So that's what I'm doing here. Melt that in there. And you can make this mixture into a quesadilla or just over some Mexican rice or on some nachos or on some tortilla chips. Oh my goodness. Now I'm going to top it with some shredded cheese. I wish I had some pepper jack, but all I had was Colby. Just put a lid on. And I'm going to turn it down to low and just let that cheese melt. And I can't believe how good it was. This will definitely be on my Taco Tuesday rotation for sure. Okay, we're going to start with the jalapeno popper chicken. I've got some bacon here. I've got some pepper jack cheese, which you can use any kind of cheese you'd like. Some thinly sliced chicken breast. Some chopped jalapeno peppers in a can. And I've got cream cheese, maybe a half of a block, and then a little bit of some extra that I had. Okay, I've got my cast iron skillet heating up, and I've got 3 pieces of bacon in there. Okay, I've got around 6 ounces of cream cheese here, and I want to soften it up just a little bit, so I'm going to put it in the microwave. And I'm going to put in some cheese. That's 8 ounces of a 16-ounce block of cheese, and I'm going to grate that into the cream cheese. Okay, now I'm going to sprinkle in some garlic powder, maybe just 1/4 of a teaspoon. Cream cheese is soft enough so I can stir the cheese and the cream cheese around and get it good and mixed together. And now I'm going to put maybe a
tablespoons of the peppers. I know these are really hot. I opened up a can a couple days ago and they were really hot, so I'm going to be on the safe side and just mix those together in with the cheese. Okay, the bacon grease is nice and hot, so I'm going to put my chicken in here. So I'm just going to brown these on both sides, but I'm just going to be careful not to overcook them because they're going to be cooking in the oven also. I'm going to just add salt and pepper to the chicken, but you could go ahead and add any kind of spice you would like. Okay, I've sprayed my baking dish with avocado oil and I've browned my chicken. So I've just laid my pieces in there, and now I'm going to cover it with the cheese mixture. She is done and she looks beautiful. Doesn't that look so good? Everything good in a jalapeno popper in one place.
I am making some crispy chicken cutlets, and I've just got some flour here with some salt, pepper, and onion powder, and I've also got the same thing in the panko and in the egg mixture. So I'm just going to dip my thin piece of chicken in the flour and then in the egg, and then I'm going to dip it into the panko and get it nice and coated, and then I'm just going to fry it in some avocado oil. Got my avocado oil in here, and they're just going to cook for maybe 3 or 4 minutes on each side. They're really thin, so they won't need a lot of time. This was one of the best chicken dishes I've ever had. I love fried chicken anyway, and then you make this little cutlet that takes no time, and then you mix up some honey mustard and pour over the top. I mean, I need to make that again soon. It was delicious. I'm telling you, you need to make this as soon as possible.
Okay, this is Swiss chicken bake, and I made it a little bit different than the recipe. I will have the recipe linked below and what I did different. And I'm using chicken thighs instead of chicken breast. And I've got some cream of chicken soup and a half a block of cream cheese. If I had to do this over again, I will use 2 cans of soup, I think, instead of 1 next time. And I've got some half and half here, and I'm just going to mix that in together. So I'm just combining the half and half in there. You could also add chicken broth. The recipe called for wine, and I didn't have any of that, so that's why I'm using the half and half. And I'm also using this herb seasoned stuffing mix, and I've got some shredded up Swiss cheese. I'm sure you could use some other kind of cheese, and I've got a stick of butter melted. I'm just going to take that Swiss cheese that I shredded up, and I'm going to put that over the top. So now I'm going to take that cream cheese and half and half and cream of chicken soup, and I'm going to pour that over the top of the chicken and the cheese. Then I'm going to add the stuffing mix. It calls for 3 cups, but I didn't want to dirty up another measuring cup, so I just kind of eyeballed it. Then you just take your butter and just pour it over the top. In about 4 hours, it was done and ready. Y'all, this turned out really good. I really liked it. I think I would just add another can of cream of chicken soup with it and maybe not cook it as long because it got a little dark on top. But this was delicious, and I will definitely write this down and have this again. Okay, here are the ingredients. I've got pepperoni, 2 tablespoons of butter. I've got some pasta sauce, some salt. I've already salt and peppered the chicken, which I've got chicken here. And this is the thin sliced chicken. I've got parsley flakes, and this is not in the recipe, but I'm going to saute some peppers and onions. I've got my cast iron skillet here. I'm going to get it hot and brown my chicken, and then I'll brown the vegetables. And I did sprinkle some onion powder, some garlic powder on here too. I know it's not in the recipe, but I think it would be good. And I also sprinkled a little bit of Italian seasoning on there. now I'm going to put the chicken back in. Get it coated in the sauce. Okay, then the recipe says to put the pepperoni on top of the chicken. And the recipe says to use deli slices of mozzarella, but I'm just going to use the shredded kind that I got from Walmart. And I'm going to use a bag of frozen tortellini, a carton of chicken broth. I've got a block of Colby Jack. I'll probably use about half of that. I've got a block of cream cheese. I'm using a can of diced tomatoes. And I'm using a jar of my home canned chicken. But I've saw recipes online where you can use sausage, you could use ground beef, or you could make it a meatless dish. And I'm adding a bag of spinach. I've also seen people use frozen spinach, but I'm going to go ahead and use this bag since that's what I had on hand. And I'm going to go ahead and put the tortellini in the bottom of the crock pot. I've sprayed mine, but you could also use a crock pot liner if you'd like. And I'm going to add the spinach, and I'm adding some of the chicken, or adding the whole jar of chicken. And then I'm going to add in some tomatoes. I think that if you use Rotel, that would be good as well, or maybe just some tomatoes with chilies, that would be good too. And I'm going to add the block of cream cheese. And you know I got to add some onion powder. I have to add that into everything. And then I'm going to add in some garlic powder. I used a pretty good bit of garlic powder. And oregano. I could not find my Italian seasoning, so I just had to kind of grab some random things from the spice cabinet to use. And I'm also using some parsley flakes, even though I know that's not an Italian seasoning. I thought that would be good here too. I'm going to add some basil and add some thyme leaves. I thought that was pretty much what made up Italian seasoning. And I'm going to add about half that block of cheese. I think you could pretty much add any kind of cheese. I think I would add some pepper jack cheese if I had some. I think that would be really good in this. And I'm going to add some Parmesan cheese. It's not in the recipe, but I love Parmesan cheese, so I thought it would be good here. And added salt and pepper, which I don't think I added enough salt. Next time I'll add a little bit more than that. And just put the lid on, just make sure you don't overcook it. So you're just going to stir that around, and it's pretty much done. I don't think I used enough broth. When I saw the recipe on TikTok, it was a little bit more creamy. I paired this with a salad. I just made a simple salad with some cheese, tomato, and onions. I just made up this honey mustard sauce. It's just Dijon mustard and honey. And I just mixed that together. And then I just cut some chicken breasts and cut them in half so they wouldn't be so thick. And I just sprinkled those with some seasoning salt. And I think I put some pepper on there as well. But I'll have a recipe down below, even though I kind of just loosely used it. And then I put some bacon in the pan. I just used my cast iron skillet. And I'm just going to cook this. And I want to use the bacon grease to cook my chicken in. So I'm just going to take the bacon out of the pan. And then I'm going to add my chicken to the skillet. So you're just going to brown them in that bacon grease just until they're brown, I would think, because you're going to cook them again when you put them in the oven. But you just put your honey mustard sauce on the chicken, and make sure you make a lot of this sauce because it's really good, and you're really going to want to dip your chicken in there after it's done. Don't be generous with this and make extra. So then I'm going to go ahead and take the bacon that was
that we fried up and put that on the chicken. And I just use like 2 slices for a big slice of chicken and 1 slice for a small slice of chicken. And then I just shredded up some cheese, and just be sure to pile that on. It's gonna melt in the bottom of the pan, and that is really good. So heap on the cheese as well. So we enjoyed this a lot, and it was quick and easy, and I hope you make this. This was really, really delicious. Tonight, y'all, we are gonna have some lemon chicken. I've never made this recipe before, but there's a restaurant called Red Rocks. I ate this at my birthday dinner, and it was delicious. So I found a recipe that I'm gonna try. So just take 3 chicken breasts. I pounded them out kind of thin. I have got a pan with a tablespoon of butter, maybe a little bit more butter than a tablespoon, and a tablespoon of avocado oil, and I'm heating that up. It also calls for heavy whipping cream, lemon juice. I wish I could find my lemon, but I think I've used it already. And some chicken stock. I'm going to use 1 cup of that and 1 cup of the heavy whipping cream, and also a couple cloves of garlic. And I will brown the chicken in here. All right, I have my chicken breast out of the pan. I can't find my garlic press. You're supposed to put 2 cloves of garlic in right now. So I'm just adding some granulated garlic. I'm just going to stir that around. Smells so good in here. Now I'm going to add, I've put together the heavy cream and the chicken broth. Okay, I put 2 tablespoons of lemon juice in here and 2 tablespoons of parsley. So I'm going to put that in and stir that around. All right, so I'm going to let this simmer away and let it get thick, and then I'll add the chicken back in. I am going to now put the chicken back in the sauce. Y'all, I cannot wait to eat. This sounds like a restaurant quality meal. I hope it's going to taste like one, because it absolutely smells delicious in here. Right, y'all, I put my chicken in the sauce, and it's been simmering, and it's so good. That sauce is delicious. I did sneak me a little piece of that chicken. It's really, really good. This is a rock star dinner, I'm telling you, and it comes together really fast, and it's after 7 o'clock, so that's why I need a fast and easy dinner. So I'm just going to use my hands. It takes too long. I don't have a lot of time left, so I'm just going to crumble up my chicken. I'm going to add 1 container of sour cream, the whole thing. So like I said, I will leave a link to the original recipe. I'm going to add some garlic salt. I'm going to use up my garlic salt before I usually use garlic powder. And that's your sauce. You don't need any kind of flour. You don't need any kind of cream of chicken soup. This is all it is, and it is so good. So I'm just going to let this cook and thicken up a little bit, and then while that's cooking, I'll show you how I do the tortillas. I've got a pack of 10 flour tortillas. Okay, I cut it into strips, and then I cut them down the middle, so now I have all these tortilla strips. And as soon as my sauce gets done, I'm going to put the strips of tortillas into the sauce and mix it together. Okay, it is heated up. I did put another can of green chilies in there. It's been a while since I made it. I think the green chilies really make this, so make sure you use a pretty good bit of those. Alright, it's heated up. It is boiling now, so I'm going to add these strips. Just add them right into the chicken mixture. The original recipe tells you to make the sauce, reserve some of the sauce, put your chicken in, and then put the chicken in the tortilla, wrap it up, and then pour the sauce over the top. And that's just too many steps for me. So what I started doing was just cutting these strips up and putting them in there, and the sauce absorbs into the tortillas. It's almost like a Mexican chicken pie. I'm going to get all my strips coated, and now we'll move along to the next step. Okay, so now I'm just going to put cheese over the top. You can use any kind of cheese, cheddar cheese. I'm using pepper jack cheese.
I've got the oven at 400 degrees and everything is already cooked in here, so all you want is it nice and bubbly and the cheese brown on top. Alright y'all, it was like 20 minutes in the oven and I've just let it set for about 10 minutes. Hey y'all, tonight's dinner is going to be chicken tips and baked potatoes. I've got my chicken cubes out of the freezer. I've just got some really hot water in this pot and I'm just going to let them sit there until they defrost. This is really quick and easy. So I've got my chicken and I've got some salt and pepper and onion and garlic powder, of course. And I've got some Italian dressing that I made from a packet from Walmart and I'm going to add that. And I always make kebabs in the summer and this is the way I always make those and put them on the grill, but today I'm just gonna stir fry it basically with some peppers and onions, and this is really good. And I'm just gonna stir that in and let it sit for a while, and then I'll start getting my pan heated up. I've got butter for flavor and I've got some shortening for some high heat, and I'm just gonna let that pan heat up really hot. And then I'm just gonna add my chicken. Make sure you don't crowd the pan, just make one layer of chicken and don't turn it until it gets brown on the one side. If it sticks to the pan, it's not ready yet. It'll come off from the pan when it's ready. And then I just took it out of the pan and added some peppers and some onions, some peppers from my freezer. And I'm just gonna saute those and then I'll add those back into the chicken and get all those juices in there and stir that around, and that's pretty much done, just like steak tips except it's chicken and it's just as delicious. This is one of our favorite go-to meals. It's really quick and easy. And I just added a salad with it and I got that baked potato. This was really good. Okay, tonight's Taco Tuesday, so I'm gonna make Mexican inspired chicken spaghetti, and I cooked a whole chicken and I'm using the broth from it, and I'll also be using some of the chicken from it. And I know the Pioneer woman, she cooks a whole chicken when she makes her chicken spaghetti. And after the spaghetti is cooked, I'm just going to add some chicken from the whole chicken that I made and stir that around. And then I've got some home canned salsa. I'm going to add that to the pot and add some green chilies, because if it's a Mexican dish, I gotta have some green chilies. Those are some of my favorite Mexican items to have on hand. And I'm just gonna stir that around. And then I'll add a can of cream of chicken soup. And then I'll stir that around. And I'm also gonna add some milk in that can of that cream of chicken can, and mix that around as well. It is smelling so good in here. And just mix that around really good, and then I added some pepper jack cheese and stirred that in really well. So I just added it to my baking dish and I just greased it really well, and I am going to add some cheese over the top of it. I'm going to add some pepper jack, but I'm also going to add some Colby jack because I like that little bit of orange. That way you get some color besides just like a white color. I know you have all the peppers in there, but I think it just looks nicer. So I'm just going to add that to the chicken spaghetti, and then it'll be time to bake. It baked about 30 minutes till it was nice and bubbly. Everything is already cooked, so really you just want to get everything hot and the cheese browned, and I just made a salad to go with it. Okay, these are the ingredients. I've got some potato gnocchi. I've got the organic baby spinach. I've got celery and onions in the same bowl just so I wouldn't have to dirty up so many bowls. It's one onion here and it said 2 sticks of celery. I've got 1.5 teaspoons of kosher salt and some pepper. I just used my grinder and grinded it, just eyeballed it. I've got 1.5 cups of half and half. I've got 2 carrots shredded. It was a little bit over a cup, so I just eyeballed it. It's like I do most everything. I have got 4 cups of chicken broth. 2 cans weren't quite enough, And I was getting ready to say, mine are regular, not reduced sodium like the recipe. And then I looked down at the can that says reduced sodium. So I am using my canned chicken instead of cooking fresh. And this is my last jar, so I'm going to have to make some more. And the recipe calls for regular garlic, but I cannot stand chopping fresh garlic. So I'm just going to put some garlic powder in mine. And I'm using avocado oil instead of olive oil. And I'm going to put 3 tablespoons into the bowl. And then I'm going to saute the vegetables. Just did 2 tablespoons of the avocado oil and 1 tablespoons of butter. I thought that would add a good flavor. And some of the recipes I saw use butter instead. So I thought that would be a good combination. I'm going to go ahead and heat that up and let the butter melt. And then I'm going to add my vegetables. Add my celery and onion. I'm going to add my carrots. And I'm just going to saute those till they soften. I'm going to go ahead and add 2 tablespoons of flour. This recipe does not say that. That way I don't get a really thin soup. I like a little bit thicker soup. And if it's too thick, I'll just add more broth. So I'm going to put that in here and I'm going to cook it for about 3 minutes. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and put the salt and pepper in there. I'm just going to eyeball some garlic powder. And I'll have the recipe linked below. So I'm just going to stir that salt and pepper in and cook it for another minute. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and put in the broth. 4 cups of that. Stir that around. And it says add the chicken, so I'm just going to add the whole can of chicken. And it does call for thyme, but of course, I cannot find it. Even though I went through my spices and got everything together, I guess I'm out of it. I don't have the time. Insert bad joke here. All right, I'm just gonna kind of break up my chicken. Also gonna add the spinach. Okay, she's ready. So next I'm going to make some a chicken pot pie. All I'm doing is adding some cream of chicken soup to some chicken that I canned. You can also add some broth and also add water if you want to. Just stir that together. And I just heated it through, and then I just got a crescent roll sheet or just a crescent roll. And then I put it in a greased 9x13 pan. And I'm going to bake that in the oven until it's brown. Mine got a little more brown than I would like, but it was still good. And I just topped it with the chicken mixture. And then I'm going to add another crescent roll on top and bake it in the oven. You could also add some mixed vegetables if you would like, but I just like mine plain without any vegetables in it. I like mine on the side, and this turned out so good. Just put it in the oven until the top gets brown. That's all you got to do. It's that simple and that easy. Hey y'all, tonight we are going to have some Chinese food. I am kind of going by recipe and kind of not. But the recipe calls, whatever the recipe calls for, I'll have it linked down below so you can get the exact recipe. I am doubling it and plus adding a little bit, but it does call for apple cider vinegar, honey, chicken stock, and soy sauce and garlic. I'm adding a little bit of the Asian Zing wing sauce because I like it and I want to use some of it up. I've got this Frank's Red Hot stinging honey garlic. I added some of that. I did not add any sriracha because this stuff's pretty hot, but I reserve the right to add it later. And I added a good bit of garlic. So I'll have the recipe down below. And I mix that up here because I like a lot of sauce. And even if I have a lot extra, which I don't think I will be able to heat the food up the next day and use the sauce. Because you know how dry it is when you eat it the next day. So I've got some chicken that I defrosted out of my freezer. And I'm going to dip it in the cornstarch. I didn't measure or anything. So I'm just going to mix it up with the cornstarch, and then I'm going to add it to my pan. I've got my pan ready and heated. I did put this chicken in a bag so I could get all that coating on it. All right, y'all. I've cooked the chicken. It's nice and golden brown. This is delicious. If you just combine soy sauce, chicken broth, that Asian zing sauce, vinegar, and honey. It just transforms anything you make. Tonight's what's for dinner. I'm going to make some zucchini boats, and I'm going to stuff it with some buffalo chicken dip. All I did was just make some shredded chicken and put some buffalo sauce in there and just stirred it up. And I did add about a half a block of cream cheese as well. I'm also going to add some ranch dressing. I thought I had some in there. I totally forgot. You can use blue cheese if you would like, and that's about 3 tablespoons. Okay, the squash or the zucchini are out of the oven. Now I'm going to put the chicken mixture inside of each one. Now I'm going to go ahead and cover them with cheese. You could always just make your favorite buffalo chicken dip recipe and use that in here. Everything is done, so I'm just going to put it in the oven and let everything get nice and bubbly, and then we'll bring it out. Y'all, doesn't that look good? It looks so good, and it smells amazing.